Here we are in Masterpiece VR. We're going to do a little bit of sculpting. I had an idea of what to sculpt before, and now I do not. So let's just do a skull. So we're going to go to our guides, and we're going to turn on a mirror plane. So we have this nice big mirror plane here in the middle. So anything we do left and right counters. So we'll see if we can get a basic skull shape started. Turn our brush down a little bit here. And basically I'm just sort of like laying this in. We'll go back and of course adjust everything after the fact. We'll tone this down quite a bit. But this is just to kind of get the shape started for the most part. I am not very practiced in this software yet. I'm used to using stuff like ZBrush and that kind of thing. So having my actual sculpting ability available in a piece of software like this is, it's going to be limited to say the least. It's amazing, but it's still not the same as sculpting in something like ZBrush. So basically I'm just kind of laying out my shape here. For the most part, trying to figure out what's missing, what needs to be done. But see, it's cool because you can move stuff all around, do whatever kind of needs to be done in virtual space. So here I am, I'll make my bottom jaw come up here. And the cool thing is, I mean, it's not like doing it on screen. This is literally a virtual environment. I can see depth completely. I know where things are in space as opposed to each other, and so on. It's a lot like sculpting clay, but it's a lot not like sculpting clay. It's hard to explain. I'm so used to computer sculpting, sculpting on the screen and with very particular tools. And this is, like I said, quite a bit different. Getting used to it it's taking me, definitely is taking me some time. So my actual ability is pretty limited. I'm sculpting like a first grader, if you will. I've seen some first graders sculpt pretty damn good though, so no offense to them. I would hate to offend someone in this day and age. So kind of a basic shape here. We can go through here and start, you know, toning stuff down, taking stuff out and doing that kind of thing. And hopefully this is recording, because it would be a pretty cool video for you all, I suppose, if you could actually see this process. And one thing I forgot to do is up our, if I can remember where it is. That's the other thing, is remembering where all the menus are. It's very difficult. There's some options, settings maybe. I'm looking for what you would call our shoot, I can't even think of what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to figure out where our resolution is, because it is in here somewhere and I'm not finding it. There it is, resolution. Usually like to take it up to about 6. We get a little better look overall. in the end. I can go down to a pretty tiny scale here for sculpting. I gotta be kind of careful though, because I don't want anything to cancel out. Matter of fact, I think I changed something in the settings here that kind of screwed things up. Like, we'll go back down our scale a little bit more like this, because it'll be a little kinder to work with. I'll just smooth some stuff out here. Like this jawbone, looks kind of crappy. I'll just start, sort of working, smoothing this stuff out and getting it looking a lot better. And it's pretty cool because it's kind, for the most part. You can adjust all your size and strength of your tools and everything, which is cool. You can definitely go in and start chopping away at stuff. But the thing is, I'm used to clay having a bit of resistance to it when I work with it. This is like a hot knife through butter, you can see. So getting that right is also not easy. It's definitely an adjustment to, and it's kind of like when you put clay on, it's a little more like spray foam. Now you can turn down your strength on the tools, which does help, because that way there's a little more what feels like resistance, even though it's not actual resistance. So that helps a bit. But you just got to be kind of careful what you do and how you do it. And sometimes larger tools, even though they seem like, okay, that's going to have too much effect, if you embed it in the surface and only have it come through a bit, makes a nice, smoother kind of shape. And then, I can come back up through here and add a little more volume in there. Because if you come from the outside going in, you're going to start doing this kind of thing. And that's not good. So coming from the inside out seems to give me a little more control, better results. Of course, there's always the lovely undo button that you can fix a lot of your issues with. So yeah, you get the idea. And eventually, all of this will be non-symmetrical. I've got the mirror turned on to make it a little faster in the initial creation of everything, and just working that way to start with. Like I say, definitely not used to it though, so if it looks like it sucks, that would be the reason why, folks. Just a new tool, definitely a new tool that I'm still getting the hang of. So hopefully this video will be interesting once it's edited down for time and content and whatnot. Hopefully it will edit, because hopefully it's actually recording. That'd be hilarious. Okay, so I'm trying to understand too, there's no really crease tools, because I haven't been able to understand how to get these to go positive and negative. There's a minus sign by my pinch here, but it pinches outwards, see? And I have not figured out in any way how to go negative on this. I've pushed the buttons in every way. That's a cool one because it actually just does it right on the surface of your model, which is neat. But I want to pinch inward. So, squeezing moves, pushing the button and doing it still makes it pinch outward. And it looks like there's a minus sign up there, but even when I figured out before how to turn it into the plus sign, I could not figure out how to get it to go in the negative. And I'm sure there's a way. I'll look it up on YouTube eventually. But, at the moment, that's where we're at. So, just trying to make some teeth-like shapes here, which those suck a lot. So what I'm going to do is stop this, however I did it. Okay, there we go. And build them up myself on the surface, because relying on it to figure out where the surface is kind of screwing things up. So this is a little more control. Not that I'm doing a beautiful job of this, but you get the idea. And then I can bring up my little gum shapes kind of here. And this is going to be all bone, obviously, as a skull, but just trying to manage how that happens. Like I said, once again, I'm not an expert at using the VR sculpting abilities yet, but that's something that I will get more used to and will be much better in time. There's a couple tools I wish they had. I wish they had a move brush, but this is a smear brush, which is kind of the same, but it's not, because you see how it's smearing as it seems to kind of move it. So then I have to go back and sort of fix this stuff. It's a bit of a workaround, but it's also not my favorite way of doing that, because it doesn't feel like I actually have control of what I'm doing. But it at least approximates the idea of a move tool. That's something I think they need to work on, is getting something that's more like a move tool in here. Whoops. Let's go ahead and fill this in with some actual volume back there. Okay, so we're this far along. I think a little more, in the chin maybe. Maybe a little more out. There we go. Not bad, not bad. Like I said, it's VR, and I honestly am not used to this kind of thing. Very strange, very cool, but very, very strange to get used to. So not the best skull in the world at this point, but coming along for sure. And like I say, I'm just kind of going in here and carving out, what I don't want. Pretty much just like real sculpting. I mean, it's pretty amazing, folks. As much as I'm having my little, this, that, and the others about it, it's actually pretty cool. I can move my tool through my sculpture while I'm getting the point of the tool where it needs to be. That's pretty impressive. You're kind of not in your own way. I wish this was a lot more like ZBrush. I think they're developing it to get to that point. And when it is, it'll be probably it'll be my method of choice of sculpting, because I'm actually in here and around here, doing this stuff instead of on a 2D screen, which is very non-organic, non-natural way of sculpting and stuff. So this is, and will be, a much better version of that eventually. So see, when we shrink this down, he's looking pretty good. I mean, it's kind of a neat little model there. We can look around the back of him there and everything, and it's looking all right. And so now I guess we can go and raise our brush a little bigger and start kind of filling in more of the head. Hopefully I won't screw this up. I'm doing it in steps, sort of pulling my trigger in separate passes here so that I don't do one giant blob that's wrong. I can always undo. I want to fill in some of the head here. I gotta be careful, because I know I'm gonna wind up filling in my eye sockets and stuff in the front if I'm not careful. But that's looking okay. And then, sort of come back here, get the back side of the head going. It's feeling a little more natural than it has in the last couple of days. I'm starting to get the sort of feel of the tool instead of instead of just feeling lost with it. It's a little more natural feeling overall. It's real easy to do this too much, to overdo your strokes and stuff, though. Let me tell you what, very easy. We'll go ahead and smooth this out a little bit, raise our size, start taking care of some of these anomalies. I'll go back and worry about some of these details here in a sec. Okay, that's all right. We'll take our erase brush, and I'm going to increase his size a lot. That way my erase brush is very tiny compared to the surface. And just kind of come in here and start carving out some stuff. I tried to broadcast this live, but for some reason my internet is totally jacking up lately. So I need to call the internet folks and complain that I know that they slowed my internet down. Tried to get away with that without me noticing, but ho ho ho, they don't know who they're dealing with, evidently. Ho ho ho, I said. It's my Christmas spirit for the year right there in a nutshell. Ho ho ho, you're not going to take my internet away. And I could have cussed there, and I decided not to. Okay, so yeah, we can keep going in here and just working. I'm going to cut down the strength on that eraser just a little bit. I want it to be a little kinder to the surface, not bite into it so much. And then try and smooth out some of this biting away that I'm doing. And that's not too bad. I'm not hating that. I'm gonna make these eye sockets just a little deeper. I think there may be some hollowness. Let's look inside. Very hard to see things from inside there. You get the idea. So now I think I'm gonna cut into the skull a little bit through here. He's a little stylized. I mean, that's fine, but I don't want him to be over stylized. So this is just free sculpting. I mean, there's all kinds of versions of this that you can do, including setting like image planes up for different areas and sculpting flat surfaces and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Whoops. I knew I messed up the second I pulled the trigger. I said whoops before the clay even got out. So yeah, very, very cool. It's a very cool, interesting way of doing stuff. Say I'm going to raise him up and see if I can drop my erase down a little more, but it won't go smaller than this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the shape I'm using to a pyramid. And just use the point of the pyramid with a stronger strength and just, about a 1. And try that. It's kind of hard to get nice, precise stuff on here, but this is what ZBrush will be for, is to go in with ZBrush and really take care of the fine details. But I'll tell you what, I mean, this is kind of cool when you bring it up this big. You got quite a bit of resolution and control compared to what I thought I would have here. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's not precise. You can see the polygons kind of popping there a little bit, but it's enough to get a base shape out. And switch back to our sphere. Go ahead and smooth the outside of this. Gotta be careful because that's going to start really tearing there. Yeah, not horrible. Kind of cool. I reached up to scratch my head right now, but I have the mask on, the goggles, so I can't do that. Cool. So there's a skull. Not bad. So why don't we do something interesting with this skull and start doing a little bit of shaping of some of this stuff here a little better. But why don't we do something interesting with this skull and turn it into something like demonic or something cool like that. Give him some ram horns or something, see how that goes. Yeah? So I'm walking around my space and you'll see there's a blue grid that pops up, and this tells me where the edge of my safe zone in the room I'm working in is at. It's not a huge space, but it's enough that I can actually walk around my sculpture. But it's nice because, yeah, it'll tell me, hey, you're about to screw up and break something, and nobody wants that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut through this area of my arch here. get through down to that opening that's supposed to be here. Cut it back just a little bit more. We will go ahead and smooth this bone out here, taking away any of those jaggies and things that should not exist. And that looks all right. I'm gonna go ahead and fill something in here that just seems a little unnatural. And then we'll take our smoothing tool, turn up our strength, and go in here and smooth just that stuff out. I know it's weird, right? Watching someone sculpt. And I've got all my menus open. That's why I've got this big hand and this stuff flying around. It's hooked to a controller here. So I can detach the menu. I can reattach the menu. And part of me actually likes the idea of detaching the menu because that lets me walk away from it, you know, but at any time I can pick it up and then move it around like that, which is handy. I'm glad you guys can't see me. My pants are totally falling off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up this gum area just a little bit more. I feel like it's a bit, I don't know, over stylized, overdone, not done enough, something. So we're going ahead and fill that in just a hair. Whoops, not like that though. It's cool, I can just turn and point to the undo and this little laser beam shoots out of my tool there and goes up to the undo to set it. So I'm just kind of coming in here and filling in, you know, kind of that bone that goes under the teeth. It seemed a little neglected. So we'll go here and smooth our, where's our smooth? There we go. Some of this jawbone down. Looks a little chewed up. And, you know, I can live with that at the moment. So let's go ahead and add some cool horns and stuff to this guy. We can do this really big here in the room and sweeping, which is neat. Or I can make him small to do it. But either way, we will take our tool, make it larger, and we're going to mirror across here. So everything we do to this side will be done to that side. So I'm going to start just with a base, like this. And that'll look good. And then probably maybe a little bit higher. And then now we'll make the horn actually come out of that. It's a little feathered. Let's go ahead and make our size a little bit small, make our strength a little bit harder, like this. And we can bulge later, so what I'm going to do, I think, is sort of have this come out. Let's see if we can get away with something like that. Crazy, I know. So if we bulge this, it may actually work the way I want it to. Looks like it's not too bad. Let's go another pass. Not bad. We'll bulge this area too. Not bad. Very weird, I have to say. So now on this end here, we can go to our shrink tool, make it a little larger, and then sort of, whoops, that's way too much, isn't it? And we will use a larger thing, but we'll make it have less strength. And now we can start shrinking the end a little bit like that. Not bad. I'm gonna shrink that there just a little bit too. But that's kind of strange. You could probably do a really nice stepper effect through there somehow by using the shrink and grow brushes. But I'm gonna smooth this area because that was a little wonky in there. But there we go, pretty cool. Get rid of those lines that I put. And once again, we can go through here and take our eraser, maybe with the pyramid tool on it again. And our strength is pretty good, but I'm going to be careful. But I just want to take a point of that and sort of draw some creases here and there in this horn, sort of randomly, but definitely doing it at the kind of a proper angle to the horn twist. And just to get, something's a little deep, but that's all right. Just to get kind of our grooves and notches and some things cut in here. That one was a little much. So, you know, deeper and less deep and so on. Just randomly kind of getting those cut in. It's probably a little too deep here and there, but this is for demo purposes. I'm just trying to show you guys kind of what this is about. While the Stormtrooper helmet prints away quietly in the background, you get the idea. So you can take chunks out just by moving this along and squeezing the trigger. We don't even have to do the sweeping motion if we don't really want to. You just kind of stick it in there and pull your trigger, and it'll do that. But it's nice to kind of draw the line too, because we'll have a longer sweeping line, and so on. So just to the back here, kind of going quickly. Oops. And I'm not worried that some of these are a little deeper. See, I took a big old chunk out of there, but that's okay because I can redraw it, resculpt it in without any problem if that is a little too big. I can always make my brush smaller to not affect things around it. This is a very, very interesting tool, I gotta say. So his back of his skull looks like a butt, kind of. All right, so there we are with this. Now, extreme detail, like little tiny cracks and stuff, are going to be very hard to get. We can use an eraser. We can use a tool like this. The bigger we get this, the bigger our smallest eraser is going to get. So if we wanted to get in here, see, the resolution of this skull is really not kind of good enough to get super wrinkles, unless we would have built it maybe bigger within this box volume. But, you know, we can take this in the ZBrush and do the same thing. So now, let's go on to painting. Let's paint this guy kind of a nice natural bone color. Something a little more in the yellowish, grayish sort of area. We're going to switch back to our sphere. We're going to paint. And let's make that big so that we can sort of much paint his whole head at once. So just by passing through the sculpture, I've completely painted everything I wanted to paint with that color. You can even turn around now and see that I passed all the way through it from the front, and here we are. So now, if we want to paint his horns, something like a gray-black-ish kind of color, I'm going to make it big enough to go through his horn on all sides, and then just follow the horn around and paint the whole horn. Very simple. Now you can see, because we were passing through as we did our sweep, it's nice and colored. So I'm just seeing something from a different angle. Just going to bring that color down to his head a little bit more. Just make sure that it's colored all the way down. So now we can take this color back off our opacity, which is, of course, the amount of see-throughness, and sort of darken the underside here. I got to be careful I'm not passing through the front, which I did a little, but not enough to be a problem. So we'll make this smaller. We'll go in here to the eye sockets, start darkening those back slightly. And now into the nose and do the same thing. And I want to be careful I'm not getting it too dark, because this is really just kind of a toning of the recesses and stuff. We're basically kind of shading, not worrying about or relying on the light, sort of shading the skull on our own. This is what I would do with an airbrush, you know, if I was painting this traditionally. I'd be airbrushing all that color. So I'm going to go a little bit darker now, and still not totally opaque, and just start taking care of some of these darker areas that I want slightly darker. And it breaks up the darkness of that color a little bit too, where some areas are a little bit grayer, some areas are a little bit blacker. So I'm just kind of going into some of these recesses now, creating a little bit of fake ambient occlusion, if you will. Kind of seeding that and painting our temples a little bit darker. This temple right here is the Temple of Doom. That's what I'm calling this one. Of course, he's got two Temples of Doom, being like a demonic skull. Yeah, I know you get that joke for free. The rest, you'll have to come see my comedy show, obviously. So the longer you hold it in one spot, the more paint will go onto the surface, just like in real life. The more opaque it will get. So I'm going to go up here and paint darker the inside portions here, trying not to go through to the outside. Do a little blending up the back here. And yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Okay, so with that, we're going to switch over to some kind of a, maybe a highlighty color for the horns. Highlighty. And you can change out all your shapes and stuff. Like if you switch over to etching, you're going to be sort of drawing this with this little weird pencil-y looking kind of tool that never, to me, sits right in the hand. But it's working okay for what I'm trying to do here. Just trying to get a sort of a highlight going on the, I don't know why I can't grab my sculpture there. So we'll go ahead and get our menu off of here real quick. Move our sculpture around and go back here. I think I'm going to use the, I like the sphere tool just because I can kind of visualize where my brush is going. And I'm going to kind of go in here. Ah, dang it. Yeah, that is really experimental, isn't it? And sort of paint in my, the two maybe or something. Paint in cracks in my teeth a little bit. Let's see if I can maybe do the on the surface deal that I was doing before. I don't think so. Oh, I guess so. Where you're mainly like 900% on the surface of your sculpture and not painting on the inside or through it. Make sure I am doing exactly that. Not seeing a lot of opacity here for some reason. Not sure why, but oh, it's because my color's not dark enough. There we go. Now it's like painting with an airbrush right into the cracks. And just getting those guys all nice and painted in. And remember, I'm only having to paint one side at a time right now because this is all mirrored across the, I believe, the x-axis. So I'm going to turn up my opacity just a little bit more. Really dig it in between the teeth here. It kind of hides the fact that that's not a perfectly crisp line, which that's okay because, like I said, if we take it into ZBrush later, we can take care of that. I hope a lot of you watch this video, and if you do, please like it, because it's the first of its kind for me doing a VR sculpting video. Hopefully there's going to be tons more of these, because I want to do a lot more of this kind of work. I'm going to go ahead and make my opacity really high now and try to detail this guy up a bit more. Hopefully not goof it up any. Just trying to model some, whoops, see, that's a lot more pressure than I was planning on. So it is pressure sensitive on the trigger. So we're going to go ahead and undo those nastiness spots. So yeah, I mean, I'm barely pulling, so I'm getting that, and when I pull hard, I get that. So it's just like an airbrush, folks. Just like it. But I'd rather pull partially back and let it fill in over time than get one big old blast of color that screws up the whole thing. So, but you're getting the idea, I'm sure. So a little more modeling here, some of my little recesses, and you know, so it's kind of a mix between you know, painting a traditional painting and doing a sculpture, just because I'm cheating some of the detail with paint techniques. Yeah, I think you saw that for yourself. So now we're going to switch out for maybe another, well, we don't even have to switch out. Let's go ahead and blast this horn with some color, some lines. Let's go ahead and go full black. That's a little too much. Go with our undo on that and go our opacity down quite a ways. Maybe a little more than that. I don't know why we're not getting better blacks than that, but let's move that up a little more. Even a little more. And anything below 100 is just kind of taking its sweet time. It's real sensitive toward the top, apparently, where it's going to pick up paint. So I'm going to turn the opacity all the way up and just pull my trigger back part way, because that seems to be more in line with what I'm attempting. So, sorry, there's not any music playing, but I'll add a little bit of music, I think, in post to this video, so you can really get a sense of, you know, how cool and dreamy it is to do something like this. It won't be just boring. Whoops, won't be just boring, and you'll be listening to my printers in the background. 3D printing a Stormtrooper helmet today as I work on this. And see, there is a blur, which I have not tried yet. And it's like a smooth for the paint, which is actually, whoops, a little much there. It's actually pretty cool. We'll turn the strength down on that for that little section. Maybe even too much still. And there we go. Just wanted to zap that little dot there that was a bit more than it needed to be. Very cool though. I mean, this is probably the most successful sculpture I've done in VR so far. So I'd like to get a lot more detail in it, but like I said, I think I'm gonna have to do that in ZBrush or something. Yeah, we are pinching with a, let's use a pyramid. Just trying to add some surface ridges to this horn here. Let's see how well that can work for us. It's really just things dug in, so we need to raise some things out from it too. I'm thinking about buying a couple of extra controllers just as backups. I've heard some stories of people breaking their controllers and having to send them off to get them fixed, and that would suck because it would take time out of the work day, or the work week for that matter, to get your stuff back. So I'm thinking about getting some extra controllers just for the sake of not having that issue. Noticing as I wick off the surface, this is actually picking up more geometry. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off of the surface mode and make it on the actual tool here, because that to me feels a little more sculpture intuitive and less like being on a screen, because this actually is giving me yet again that sort of sense of sculpting, making these little bony spots. You can see as I'm pulling them up off the horns here. Hopefully that's coming out in the video pretty well. And yeah, so there's our little skull model. I guess I'm going to put my menu back on here so I can do this. But this is our little skull model. I mean, you can see it floating here in space in front of us. I'm able to turn it around and look at it. We can look at the beautiful ocean out there in our VR room. But yeah, there's our skull in all of its glory. Moving it around for you to see. I'm going to turn off our mirror here so it's a lot nicer to look at. And there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Oh, we forgot to save it, didn't we? So we'll go to File, we'll save this guy, and it say this is a new save, and it lets us take a picture of it. Click Save, and we're, as far as I know, good to go. So I'm going to take a photo of it too, which I believe I can do. Doop-de-doop-de-doo. Let's find out how to do that. There should be like a camera in here. Graphics, options, etc. Let's go back to our guides. It's not in there. Sorry guys, I'm just, like I said, still figuring this out. Material shapes, ends, sculpting. Obviously it's not going to be in there, but there was a camera. Swore there was a camera tab here somewhere. I thought it was in options. Maybe it's in display. There is a camera there, but I want to be able to take a snapshot. So we're going to go ahead and close that camera. And yeah, very, very interesting that I can't figure this out, but that's all right. Hopefully I'll be able just to take an image from the video and use it as our thumbnail. All right, cool. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, watching me goof off here, and hope you had a good time.